Hey everyone, this is Stacy Smakowski, and I will be talking about leadership that enriches a creative workplace. I'm going to be applying the humanistic theory to this idea. So, if I can get my computer to work here. Okay, there we go. So when you hear the word creative workplace, what are some things that come to mind? Do you think of Google, Microsoft, maybe Amazon, or Apple? Do you think of hippies singing around a campfire, or people going to work in their pajamas? Strangely enough, that's what some people think about it. Google has kind of changed the way people think about creative workspaces and how they make a company blossom and burst at the seams with innovative ideas. There's abundance of studies that support this claim that creativity is vital for a company to have a competitive advantage. In a sense, creativity can be defined as the process of imagining and creating new ideas which are useful in improving services, processes, and procedures in organizations. However, there are a lot of companies where the googly format doesn't quite work, and yet each company needs to depend on their employees' creative juices. So how do different companies inspire creativity in their employees, which in turn makes the company more innovative and ultimately more successful? Well, in week 4 of our semester, we've discussed the humanistic or human resource theory. And this theory in general explored the idea that employees add value to the company and when nurtured become a driving force of success. Essentially, there is an increase in productivity when people become the focus. When companies work to create an environment or a culture that nurtures the individual, there's an increased loyalty and increased productivity. I'll go ahead and take this idea a bit further and explore it with you and explore what it takes to make this environment where creativity is nurtured, innovation is abundant, employees are willing to give everything for the culture in the company, and there are butterflies and magic everywhere. Okay, maybe not so much the last one, but you get the general idea. I decided to do a search for a type of leader that has had the most success in creating this type of atmosphere. And I found a few different sources that I'll draw from in order to support my ideas. First of all, we need to have a leader that is inspiring, thoughtful, and genuine. So often we have polar opposites in management. There's either this rigid, no-nonsense boss that chooses to make rules and rule from on high, and on the other end of the spectrum, there's this laid-back, do-whatever-you-want boss. And I've worked for both types, and I can honestly say that neither is a good option for the environment that is creative or innovative. There was a study conducted at the School of Management, RMIT, University in Australia, by Ashkan Khalili that does a great job supporting the idea about certain management types being great leaders for creative spaces. Particularly, this study explores the link between transformational leaders, creativity, innovative, and innovation supportive climates. Essentially, Khalili's study, I hope I'm saying his name right, found that transformational leadership has a positive effect and influences creativity and innovation in employees. But what is transformational leadership? Khalili defines a transformational leader as, quote, one who inspires subordinates to do more than they are expected to do in the first place. They are dynamic and proactive and capable of leading not only themselves but their followers in order to embrace changes, end quote. Well, that is just wonderful, isn't it? How does a leader do that? Well, before I jump into the how, let's explore another type of leader that can accomplish the same type of results. After all, the focus here is to have a competitive advantage and to have employees that are willing to follow their leader. It isn't only a transformational leader that can do that. I don't think so. In fact, another article that I found cited multiple sources in claiming that a servant leader is ideal for creative environments because they promote selfless cooperation so that team members in close interaction with each other share valuable information and have regular high-quality exchanges. And that was a quote from the study by Malangumu in 2016. Essentially, a servant leader makes it possible for better team exchanges and thus more chances for creative processes to occur. This study further surmised that it is these creative exchanges where employees learn interpersonal skills and behaviors that bind them together into a solid, cohesive organization. So this makes a stable culture that nurtures the employees. This is the heart of humanistic theory. So now we have two types of leaders that meet the criteria for creative spaces, or for creating spaces where innovation and creativity are encouraged or even thrive. But here's the good news. Leaders are dynamic, they're fluid, and they are human. So most humans don't have only one quality that make up their personality. There are multiple qualities that make them who they are. So these studies are exploring just one type of leader, but I believe that a good leader holds multiple qualities at certain times when they're needed. So I wanted to give you a great example of a company that has a dynamic leader that exhibits the qualities that creative environments need in order to prosper. So we all know about Google, and we've even studied Zappos this semester, but great companies with great cultures and creative spaces in place help them nurture employees. But we haven't yet discussed this company, Pixar. I'm a huge fan of this company, not just their product, their company. Pixar was founded way back in 1979 as a graphic group. Believe it or not, they started working with Lucasfilms way back then. In fact, Steve Jobs funded their little company. Pixar has since produced over 18 films and is now part of the Disney family. Disney took Pixar on to ramp up and redesign their Disney animation studios, which they've successfully done since. And the guy that's behind it all is this man, Edwin Catmull. He's one of the founders of Pixar, and he's had a huge success in leading this company to super status. And Edwin Catmull is a dynamic, transformational servant leader. Just listen to what some of his employees have had to say about him.
His insight is always like right there. Like, this is the thing that we know we need.
There's a real irony in who Ed is.
He really instills this idea that making mistakes is okay, failing is okay, because from that we learn.
And he challenges you. He doesn't tell you how to do it, but he challenges you to do it, and he encourages you, and he checks in.
You know, Ed is also a filmmaker. Ed is an artist. Ed understands all of us.
He saw that you can find beauty in a really strange puzzle, mathematics, a language that is universal. There are no barriers with math.
So I don't know, it's such a, in a way, calming thing, but it's also a super brave way to run a company.
All right, so what's absolutely fantastic about Catmull is that he has instilled this idea into all his leaders. There is a great article that I found in the Harvard Business Review titled How Pixar Fosters Collective Creativity. It's a great article. I recommend you read it. It was written by Catmull, and it talks about how Pixar has maintained this creative environment by fostering leaders that let their employees think creatively and analyze and solve their problems. This wonderful and weird thing that Pixar does that I've not yet seen in other companies is that they believe that talent is rare. They also believe that management is there to prevent risk, which is what management does in the traditional sense. However, they are there to build the capacity for the company to recover when failures happen. It's apparent that Pixar culture is completely content with failure. It happens, and at Pixar, failure is almost encouraged. What better way to foster creativity than to create a safe space where people have no fear of failure? Catmull also states that creativity must be present at every level of every artistic and technical part of the organization. Basically, everyone is everyone is important and valued for their part in the company. One of the amazing things that Catmull said about Pixar leadership is that what we can do, I'm going to quote this, what we can do is construct an environment that nurtures trusting and respectful relationships and unleashes everyone's creativity. If we get that right, the result is a vibrant community where talented people are loyal to one another and their collective work, and everyone feels that they are part of something extraordinary, and their passion and accomplishment make the community a magnet for talented people coming out of schools or working at other places, end quote. This, again, is one of those humanistic theory ideas. Some of the ways that these leaders have created this safe haven for imaginative minds is to set up a company that focuses on personnel. Catmull highlights some of these things in his article. He's got about 9 of them. I'm going to cover these. First, he says, give power to the creatives. Catmull believes that if you get talented, creative people, you give them power, and then you give them power and ability to function and support them as best you can. Then, and most importantly, you appreciate all the contributions regardless of where or whom they originate, and use the best ones. Second, Pixar creates a peer culture. All the people from everywhere, from every department supports one another and is completely committed to helping each other produce their best work. The one thing that leadership avoids in this company is ego. Third, they have what's called dailies. These are daily reviews that everyone participates in. It encourages everyone to give constant feedback in a positive way. Catmull points out that when people are no longer self-conscious about their work, they are more open to learn and inspire one another, which causes everyone to up their game. Of course, there are natural barriers that include class structures and different languages between departments and disciplines, but the leadership does whatever they can to tear those down. Fourth, everyone must have the freedom to communicate with anyone, no matter what department they function in. And one of the fun things that this company has is this gathering area where their mailboxes, the snack bar, and the bathrooms are. And everyone has to interact there. It's very much a place where people can have these inadvertent conversations with each other. And so these environments and these rooms actually create an environment where people can exchange ideas with anyone, no matter where they function. Okay, so fifth, it must be safe for everyone to offer ideas. Everyone is encouraged to share what they like and what they don't like. Sixth, Catmull states that they must stay close to innovation happening in the academic community. They may give away ideas in the process, but Pixar feels that when they are connected to the academic community, they are constantly attractive to talent and, quote, reinforce the belief throughout the company that people are more important than ideas, end quote. Seventh, staying on the rails. Pixar's executives are constantly evaluating and analyzing where they are and where they're headed. 8, they have what's called postmortems. A lot of companies will sit down after a project is finished and they'll evaluate what worked and what didn't. And Pixar chooses to use this opportunity to quantify their work, and they keep track of both the bad and the good. And last, fresh blood. They fight complacency and work to have a regular flux of new blood in their company. Catmull believes in recruiting new people with fresh perspectives. One of the challenges that they've had to overcome with new people is encouraging people to have the confidence to speak up. But they do encourage it. Through these policies and cultural norms that Catmull and the other founders have cultivated in Pixar with their leadership skills, they have created a company where employees are valued. These employees are loyal and they're willing to do what it takes to finish projects. They help the company and each other to be successful. Pixar may be a successful animation company, but they're more than that. Catmull has created a family. He started a company that values people over ideas. Another great servant leader that valued people over ideas was the Savior. When we work to pattern our lives after the greatest of all leaders, we will have the organization that flourishes. So in order to have a company that fosters the feeling of loyalty and devotion in employees, we need to focus on the people and learn to have the qualities of the transformational servant leader. Thanks.